Hey guys, this is Galin Swigart, and today I'm going to be running through the Whitetail clothing system that I'm going to be wearing for the upcoming season. It's pretty much all First Lite gear at this point. I started using their stuff a few years back and I was really impressed just with the versatility of pretty much every product I used from them. So over the years, 3 or 4 years, I started accumulating the pieces that I wanted, and basically buying a few pieces each year has led me to where now I have an entire kit of First Lite gear. I just want to start out by saying that you definitely don't need technical hunting apparel to be able to be a successful hunter. But having clothing that is designed to work with you is definitely going to allow you to wear less clothes and be more comfortable. If you're not interested in spending this much money on clothing, that's no problem at all. Get out there and hunt and you'll be just as successful. This stuff just makes it a little easier to stay out longer. Basically everything that I use for an entire whitetail season, from 80 degrees, 70 degrees in the early season, all the way down to 0 in the late season, fits into one small tote bin that you can buy at Home Depot or wherever. You don't need a lot of pieces, and I think that's the beauty of buying technical hunting apparel like First Lite. You're certainly not going to need as many layers as if you were using inferior materials. So basically you buy a few critical pieces and that will allow you to be more versatile throughout the season, so the system kind of builds on top of itself. So the way their system is designed is fairly simple. It's just a wicking base layer next to your skin that's going to move moisture, and then going all the way to an outer layer that's going to protect you from the elements. So first I'm going to start with the 3 layers that I pretty much always have on, whether I'm hunting turkeys in the spring, whether I'm on a western elk hunt in early season, or if they're a piece of my whitetail system for the fall. I've literally always got these layers on or something very similar to them. And First Lite has some different options. For example, these are the Corrugate pants, which I'll get into, but you can swap them out for things like the sawbuck brush pant if you're in an area with more briars, or you can switch to something like an obsidian merino pant if you want something that's a little quieter but a little bit less durable. So there's some flexibility within their system. So to start out, I always have on a pair of Aerowool boxers. These are a next to skin layer, relatively simple. They're a pretty snug fitting, like kind of, not like a compression short, but more like a boxer brief type of thing. This is the original Aerowool, not their newer stuff. The Wick Hoody is literally always on. It's a really excellent piece because it's super versatile. Basically the hood is great for concealment. It's great for keeping the sun off your neck, but when it's cool and windy, it's surprising how much having one layer on, even if you put it under or over a baseball cap and then put a beanie on top of it, just having that hood really keeps the wind off your neck, and that's a crucial piece. So in those areas where you're likely to generate a lot more heat, they have venting. It's the same type of fabric, it's just like kind of mesh material where there's holes in it, so it's obviously going to breathe a lot better. So like I said, I'm always going to have this Wick Hoody on the top. That's always my base layer on my torso, and then I'm going to have these Aerowool boxers on the bottom. Over top of those Aerowool boxers, I'm going to have the Corrugate guide pants. They are my choice for early season hunting. I chose these because they're still pretty quiet. They're super comfortable and extremely durable. Where I hunt, I do like having a more durable pant. They're going to repel water walking through dewy grass and stuff like that, as opposed to a merino pant, which is going to be way quieter, but it's not as durable, and it's also not going to be as water resistant. So there's a trade-off. Like I said, you can kind of switch and swap between those two things to fit your needs. So early season, these are the only pants that I'll wear, and then later in the season, I'll put some more layers over top of them. So if it were like 70 degrees, 80 degrees on an early season hunt, that's all I would be wearing. I'd have a lightweight pair of socks, the Mountain Athlete socks, on my feet, and then a lightweight pair of boots. And then as far as accessories in the early season, I would only have on their Aerowool neck gaiter, great for concealment, super light, super breathable, very comfortable. And I'll basically use this all season. As it gets colder, I might swap it out for the regular merino neck gaiter as opposed to the Aerowool. And then as far as gloves, I'm just going with the trusty Talus fingerless gloves. This is the updated version with the thinner cuff, which is a huge improvement for sure. I love the dexterity of having no fingers on gloves. So in the early season, I might also have in my bag, but a lot of times I don't wear it until it starts to get a little cooler, the Klamath hoodie. I've done a review on this piece already, so if you're interested in more details on this piece, you can check that review. I've been using this for a year and a half now. Whenever it came out, I bought it and I've been using it ever since. Awesome piece. Super breathable because of the grid pattern on the inside. A lot of companies make something similar, but this is just my favorite for sure. It's pretty light as far as like mass weight, but it's pretty warm, and as a piece of a layering system definitely helps to fight wind. Obviously there's no wind membrane in this piece, but as a part of a system, if it starts to get a little cooler in the early season, I'll throw this over top of the layers I talked about, and that's that. Basically this is nylon and slight insulation on the front, And then the back is Merino to be a little bit more breathable, especially if you're wearing a backpack or if you have other layers. Super quiet piece that adds a lot of warmth, surprisingly, for how light it is. Super comfortable, and it's not going to restrict your movement on your arms because it's a vest and obviously doesn't have any sleeves. So basically the system stays the same in the mid-season. So I'll just add this over top of those layers, and that'll be good for days that are in the 50s. I really don't wear like an outerwear piece on the top in those temperatures unless I have to. If I did have to, I would just add into the system this jacket, which is the Catalyst soft shell jacket. Another great piece. Basically this adds a little bit of warmth because it's fleece lined. And the biggest feature of this is that it's going to block wind, not completely, but it's definitely a wind blocking layer. And it also repels water. If there's a slight drizzle, that type of thing, it's definitely going to help protect you from the elements. It's like the quietest soft shell you can use that's not quite rain gear, but it's definitely going to protect you from the elements. Super quiet piece. Their new Solitude kit is actually covered in this fabric, from what I understand, so it is a soft shell fabric, but it's so quiet. Now in those temperatures on the bottom, I'm simply going to add the Furnace long johns, which I forgot to bring with me. I'll have the Furnace long johns underneath my Corrugate guide pants. You're going to have very good breathability, and it's not going to be too warm when you're walking into your stand, but before you need to add an actual like bib pant that's insulated later in the season, this is going to be great. Mid to late October is typically when I'm wearing this system. That mid-season time period is also when I'm going to switch from the Aerowool neck gaiter to the regular Merino neck gaiter. This is an old one that's pure Merino, but the new one is Merino X fabric, which I think is a little better because this one, I've had it for, I think this is the first piece of first like gear I bought, so I've had it for 3 or 4 years, and it's gotten stretched out to the point where it's probably time to buy a new one. During that time of year, I will layer over the top of my fingerless gloves with the Shale hybrid gloves, which are like a work glove type of piece. They're really great for hanging tree stands and that type of stuff in the summer. They're also going to provide some warmth because they are the Furnace 350 weight fabric, so they're definitely a step up from the fingerless gloves. And I'll wear those into the stand, and then once I'm in the stand, I'll stick with just the fingerless gloves just for dexterity and being able to operate my bow release and stuff like that. And then I'll also throw in the tag cuff beanie, which is probably one of my favorite pieces in their entire line. It's like the perfect beanie. I think I have one in almost every color because I like wearing it around town. I like wearing it hunting, hiking. All right, so now we're getting a little bit later into the season. We're talking late October, early to mid-November, where temperatures are starting to get into the 30s, around freezing, especially overnight. I'm going to swap out the Klamath hoodie for the Furnace quarter zip, which is a much warmer piece, and it also doesn't have a hood because that's when I'm also going to add a hooded jacket, which I'll get to in just a second. So this is a heavier piece, super quiet. It's Merino, like we talked about, 350 weight with a fleeced back, which is just going to add so much warmth. And it's also a very comfortable piece that layers really well because it's not super thick or bulky and it doesn't have a hood. If you were trying to keep your system simple, you definitely don't need this piece. You could stick with the Klamath and the Sawtooth vest. I just swapped this out for the Klamath and leave the Sawtooth vest on over, which is going to give you some really great warmth. So like I said, on top, I'm going to be wearing the Wick Hoody just like before. Over top of that, I will put this, the Furnace 350 quarter zip. And then over that, I will put the Sawtooth vest. And then if it's not super cold, what I'll do is that will be my outer layers, the Sawtooth vest. And then on top, I'm still going to have the Furnace long johns and the Corrugate guide pants to walk in. Once I get to the stand, I will throw on these Solitude bibs. They're new for this year, and I am crazy excited to get these out into the field because they look perfect. The outside material is still just as quiet as if you're familiar with the Woodbury jacket, but it's definitely more water resistant and waterproof. And then up here, my favorite feature of these is you're gonna have basically your toolkit on your chest where there's a big pouch where you can put your phone. You've got little tab loops in here for rangefinder, things like that, grunt call that you're not gonna wanna drop out of the tree. And my favorite thing is behind that pocket, there's a hand warming pocket that's nice and close to your body and right here on your chest. So you have your hands here against your body underneath your outer layer jacket if you choose to wear one, which is nice because some other systems have the hand warmer pocket on the very outside, which is fine, but then you really need chemical warmers to have your hands warm inside of there. Where this, your hands can be together, close to your body, and still underneath your jacket. So all the body heat that's circulating throughout your system is being put to use to warm up your hands as well. And then late in the season, if you want to add a chemical hand warmer, you put that in here because it's underneath your jacket. It's keeping your whole core warm, not just your hands. So that's a really, really cool, well thought out feature. So I'll wear these kind of over top of my top layers that I was talking about without the jacket. And then when it gets really cold, I'll wear the bibs Same layers that I talked about, and I will throw on top the Solitude jacket, which again, really excited to get this out into the field this year. I've been a fan of the Woodbury jacket since I got it, I think 2 or 3 seasons ago. Again, same outer face fabric, which is the Catalyst material, that 2-layer soft shell that's gonna protect you from wind, it's gonna protect you from moisture. Now we've got dual chest pockets that are huge pockets. And it has those pass-throughs like I talked about, so you can access that hand warming pocket on the inside on your bibs underneath this jacket. And with that system that I talked about, with the bibs, the jacket, and all those wool layers underneath, I wouldn't be surprised if I can get down to literally close to 0 degrees in this system without even jumping up to the Sanctuary system. So personally, I think if you bought quality layers, you need 4 or 5 pieces on the top and 3 or 4 pieces on the bottom. You could be set for the entire season depending on what conditions are like in your area. Here in Pennsylvania, it typically doesn't get below 0. So from 0 degrees all the way up to 80 degrees, that's my layering system. Now during that time of year, I will also add in this Tundra Balaclava, which is another really awesome and I think a little bit underrated piece. I didn't know about this piece and a lot of people don't talk about it. It's a Balaclava piece with a wool front that comes down off of your face if you want it to. And this is made of their old soft shell material, which is a little thicker, and it's gonna really protect you from the elements. It has cutout ear holes so you can still hear. Those are just covered in wool. On the inside, they have a synthetic shearling wool type of material. This piece I bought last year, and it is crazy, crazy warm. When it's windy and cold, this piece, in conjunction with all those layers I talked about, it's honestly such a warm system. Unbelievable how much difference this piece makes on your head. And then I'll also switch to the Talus full-fingered gloves, because when it's that cold, you don't want to be touching metal like your bow without some sort of protection in your hands. These are touch sensitive, so you can still use smartphone, GPS, that type of stuff. So that fairly simple layering system will get you through such a wide variety of conditions. It's pretty crazy, actually. So buy quality pieces, build yourself a kit that's gonna work throughout the season. The beauty of First Lite apparel is how versatile it is. It really allows you to just build upon a system rather than having to have a jacket for early season and then a jacket for mid-season and then a jacket for late season. You start with the base layers and slowly add those pieces that all kind of work together. So that's my system for Whitetail. Basically this entire system I used last year, with the exception of the Solitude kit wasn't out last year. So instead I was wearing the Woodbury jacket, which I've had for a long time. And on the bottom I just wore the Sanctuary bibs when it got really cold. You don't need every piece that they make. Just buy the right pieces and build a system that works for you and the conditions that you're gonna face. You might be able to trim this kit down if you hunt warmer climates down south, and you might have to add a few pieces or swap out the Sanctuary system for the Solitude system if you're in a place that gets way colder than it gets here. But this is what works for me in the widest range of conditions. If you're an eastern, northeastern, or midwestern hunter, I think this kit will serve you very well. So thank you for watching and have a great season, everyone.